The term is nefariously, or because somebody had ill intent to actually do that. Maybe they planted a bomb because they wanted to get out of high school testing, and you set that perimeter up. The fewer people that come into that area, the more likelihood maybe police can take pictures or take fingerprints, right? Or if a bomb has actually gone off, has detonated, the bomb squad or forensics can come in and gather physical evidence from their remains and determine what type of bomb was it. But it's important, and you're part of that chain of command or chain of custody as it relates to preserving evidence. Because ultimately, if we can figure out was it an accident or was there a crime involved? We're not police officers, but because we're up close and personal with that stuff, we have to recognize, you know what, this house should not have exploded. Maybe they were making meth in there. Why did the building collapse? Well, they were making homemade fireworks in the basement. I don't know. Crazier things have happened. And then down on the bottom it says, prevent further collapse due to vehicle vibration. So what does this mean? Well, fire trucks are typically diesel. The engines are diesel. And fire trucks have a lot of equipment on it that requires constant charging, or maybe the use of the light tower on scene at night. And we leave our trucks on and idling. That vibration from the trucks idling can be transferred down into the ground and then out. And if you're on a rescue for somebody in a trench, a construction worker that has somehow been trapped in the underground, my guy is kind of down here on the ground. You can't see him because he's inside the trench. And I park my fire truck up here, and it's running and it's close. It's going to ultimately cause vibrations to come through, and all this dirt that was up on the wall here is now going to fall down even more on my victim. So maybe his head is poking out at that point, but the vibrations of your truck, you're there trying to help him, and unknowingly, if you park too close and the vibrations from the engine idling on your truck causes more ground to collapse, that's a bad day. It makes us look bad, and it makes our job harder, and this person is probably going to die. So, depending on the nature of the call that we go to is kind of it's going to dictate how big the ring is. Maybe these rings aren't as far out as possible. Maybe this is 100 feet. Maybe it's 1,000 feet. Maybe it's more than that. We don't really know until we get there and we figure out why is it that we're here and what has happened. And again, it says, when you make this barrier, usually these barriers here probably are not going to have caution tape, because all of you in the fire department and police department and EMS are in here. We're the emergency response workers. This is our world here. This ring on the outside is typically where you see that caution tape. We want to keep the public out so we can do our job. Something that we have not talked about yet, and again, I said the incident commander is typically in here. When the resources arrive, when your trucks arrive, we have accountability. If you have not talked about that yet, it's a way for the incident commander to know what firefighters are on scene, and maybe even what each firefighter is tasked with doing. So there's firefighters that are actually doing work. There's firefighters that are staged, that are there just waiting. We call it on deck. They're just waiting for a new job to be assigned to them. Maybe additional resources, extra trucks are still arriving on scene, and they're going to staging. And the incident commander to be able to help them do their job needs to know, okay, who do I have, what kind of equipment do I have, what can I accomplish? You could have a ton of trucks there, but if nobody has an ice water rescue suit on, and you're there for ice water rescue, it doesn't do you any good. But more to the accountability, and I'm not sure how it is for you, but in South Lyon, our accountability is very simple. There's 2 tags with my last name on it, and it's under the brim of my hat, and I take one off and it's got Velcro, and then on every truck there's a little Velcro strip that has the truck identifier, South Lyon Engine 1, and I take one tag off and I put it on there. And then my crew does the same. So when as the crew boss, I take that off and I go up to the incident commander and I go, hey, South Lyon Engine 1, we're here to help. And it has everybody's name on there. So that way, if we go into this house and it collapses, whoa, and we become trapped, and there's a mayday, and they find out that it's South Lyon Engine 1 that is in there trapped. Well, they can look on that accountability strip that we had that I gave, and they can say, the incident commander can say, okay, South Lyon Engine 1, they got 4 people. There's probably 4 firefighters in here that now I gotta go rescue. And likewise, when you get released from the scene, they give you, the incident commander gives you that strip back, and he or she says to you, do you have all of your people? That's PAR, Personal Accountability Report. Right? It's important because there could be many stories to the building, above and below ground. There could be different areas around. And your crew can get spread out over that whole area. Hopefully, my job when I return, and I get on the truck and I say, hey, to my driver, hey, take us home. I can look in the back and I do say, do we have everybody? And then I look at my sheet and then I know that I have everybody to take back to the station. I've never left anybody at the scene. But it could happen on a very large incident. But on all of these scenes, because the likelihood that these are very dangerous events, a technical rescue is a very dangerous event. I call these, and you might hear them referred to as low frequency, high danger. So they don't happen often. Cap, before that day in 1997, probably never had a swiftwater rescue in his career. I don't know. My guess is no, he probably never did. And that crew that he went to that scene with probably didn't either. They don't hardly ever happen, but when they do happen, they're really, really bad. Now, you shouldn't be scared about it because you're trained, right? And you work as a group and you function as a team. But because they happen so infrequently, they're very serious. So we talked about this. We got our hot zone, our warm zone, our cold zone, and this is, whether you realize it or not, it's really true for every type of incident that the fire department responds on, but we're talking about it as it relates to technical rescue. So these same barriers can be applied to our trench rescue. And your IC will typically tell you how big you need to make these zones. So you can see right in my picture, my engine is up in the warm zone. Maybe the boss tells you, hey, you're too close. You need to be at least 100 feet from the edge of the trench, at least, at the minimum, 100. But really, this truck should probably be 500, 5 times the distance away. That's quite a distance, right? Especially if you've left something on the truck, a tool. So again, as you're arriving to the scene and you're getting your orders, make suggestions if necessary, if it's appropriate. Hey, do you want us to get extra SCBA cylinders? Do you want us to get a tarp? Do you want us to get extra flashlights? And then that'll save you a trip. As you walk your 500 feet up to the call and you do your tool drop on the ground, it's okay if you don't use the tool, but if you need the tool, at least you don't have to walk 500 feet and use all that time up, right? You can go the shorter distance and go to your tool drop. Yes, sir.
I use nurse position.
Yes, yes. When you're in the hot zone, your standard PPE might not be enough, right? So if you're up close to the water, and now is the time where a lot of departments are doing ice water rescue, you're gonna find that the people right on shore that are throwing the rescue rope up the victim, not only do they have their turnout gear on, they have personal flotation device or a life jacket. Right? The common term is a life jacket. You think, well, you know, they're on the ground, why are they wearing a life jacket? Well, in case the edge is icy and they slip on the ground and then they slip into the water. At least you guys just did your pool exercise, and wet turnout gear is cumbersome, right? So when you go to ice water rescue and you're a line tender person on the road near the edge of the water, not only are you going to have your turnout gear on, you're going to have that life jacket on over it. And the person that is technically in the ice water rescue scenario, the person who's going onto the ice, into the ice hole to actually lay hands on the victim, they're in that ice water rescue suit. So they have additional specialized equipment and PPE that they're going for. So we've done all this. We're now at the point where we're right up next to the patient, hopefully. So it, kind of two things happen. So the first, to get to the patient, we need to stabilize the scene. So the rescuers hopefully are not in danger at that point themselves. They can focus on saving the victim, because that's what we're there for. Maybe in our example right here of the trench, we put a whole bunch of plywood and extra boards in here to brace up the edge, so we don't have to worry about extra vibration of our truck causing additional ground to kind of cave in. So great, we've got our victim, we've got our ladders, we climb down in there, we've got our oxygen and our med bag, and we're going to do all our stuff in the trench. And then if we don't stabilize the scene, that dirt could the sides of the trench could collapse in on us as we're bent over, and now we're victims ourselves. So we stabilize that, and we're able to focus on basic patient care. As EMT basics, you know, we're going to be kind of doing the bare minimum. We're going to make sure that we're doing our ABCs. We're making sure that they're breathing, that they're not bleeding out, that we can get them out of that particular situation to pass on to the waiting ambulance to take them away to the hospital. Yep, let's take a break. I apologize. Personal risk, attempting to access a victim that requires skills of a qualified technical rescuer. This is a hard thing for us because we're in the business of helping people. But we have to, as firefighters, we have to recognize our limitations. We have to recognize what we're trained to do and what we're not trained to do. So even the tempting thing is to say, I can see them, I can get them, just let me go grab them. That's when you really gotta stop, because that's when your emotions are getting control of you. If a person is out on the ice and they're really close to the shore, but they're in the water and it's warm out, and you say to yourself, I'm a good swimmer, I can get them, let me just go get them. That's when bad things happen. Take the time, use the tools that are provided for you, use the training that you're trained to do. And if you're not qualified in that particular type of rescue, you need to wait to do it right. It's not about you, it's about successfully rescuing the victim and not becoming a victim yourself, okay? So, if you don't wanna talk about it, I understand, but I just wanted to ask if you would share some thoughts about that day.
Okay. So, late morning, we got a call for that. I was at Station 6, which is right around the corner from Newburgh Lake where the incident happened. I think my job at that time was engineer, so I drove the truck. We had an incident on Newburgh Lake. Newburgh Road passes on top of Newburgh Lake. And the whole purpose of what that crew was doing, we had no idea that they were there. It's just normal maintenance stuff. There is at Newburgh Lake, there is an opening at the bottom where water can flow into the Rouge River, which runs through Livonia and into Hines and Drive and all of that kind of stuff, and down further from there. The Rouge River is not deep at any point. I don't know if it's even waist deep, so that's not a big deal for us. As far as bodies of water, up like out here, where you can probably all name 10 lakes out this way, that is the only lake in Newburgh, is Newburgh Lake. So bodies of water, we don't do any training. We have one truck that has PFDs on it, personal flotation devices, life preservers. So I started blocking traffic. By that time, we had another vehicle at our station, which blocked traffic the other way. Sorry, I know we made you late.
No.
So we found out what the situation was. They said someone trapped in the lake. The crew met us as we arrived, told us what they had. There was one person cleaning. He had an air line and a comm line to someone on top, and he wanted that closed so he could do some work, and then he wanted it open a little bit, and then he wanted it open a little bit more, and then he wanted it closed, and then when they wanted it open a little bit more, something happened, and they opened instead of closed. So they told us, this is the line, this is the air line, this is comm line, this is everything. He's on the end of this, but he's not coming up. We lost all communications. So we were hanging on to that, figuring he's at the end of it, possibly stuck. So we didn't want to close anything, we didn't want to open anything, we wanted to see if we can establish communications, figure out where, when, and how he was stuck. But that is a tech rescue call, and none of us are trained to water rescue level. That, for our area, is handled by the Wayne County Sheriff's Department dive team. So we contacted them. They were en route, they were going to be there, and our hope was that he could free himself. His air was good, his line was good, so we were under the impression that everything was pretty good up until that point. He was probably stuck, but we would work on that once the dive team got there. So we made sure, obviously, a lot of big wigs started showing up and wanting access, and there's a dock that leads out, so we let people on the dock to take a look, people who were involved in the scene, but it was with PFD only because you're on the water. Again, you could slip and fall in, and so again, it was difficult. I had a couple of people who were, yeah, let me by here. I said, I need PFD, get by here. Do you have any idea who I am? No, I don't, but here's PFD. If you want to go one on, then I get you by here because they said you can go. And it was just that simple. So I had one person apologize to me for being a dick. He said, no, you're right. I really just should have grabbed it, put it on. Instead, I mouthed off. That's all right. But that's what I was told. No one gets out here unless they have a PFD on. So,
How many years were you on the department at that point?
Oh, 15. What year was that?
97.
I heard 86. So 11 years.
Yeah.
Um,
And up to that point, had you ever been on a call like that at Livonia? Ever? Yeah.
or after.
Yeah.
I mean, we had
So once in a
pools and
career.
drownings and stuff like that, but
Right.
not that. That was a tricky one. The dive team got them, they could not find him, they wanted a couple of things, open, close, that kind of stuff, see what we could do, see what we could see, and it was just a mess. This incident went on for days. Finally, the decision was made to completely open up the dam, and we waited on the other end, and sure enough, a body came out at that point. But it was that was a long process.
Yeah. Days, yeah, was it? Yeah, the incident spanned over days, I thought.
Yes, that one did, unfortunately.
Yeah. So again, high risk, low frequency, once in a career kind of thing. And you gotta know your limitations, and you gotta follow orders, and you gotta do things by the book and be safe, right? This is, maybe at the point where this is your first contact with somebody that says, do you know who I am? No, but you know what? I can't let you through here. So, this stuff is real, right? Like, it's not just